The future of New Orleans Saints running back Alvin Kamara has kind of been brought into question based on a recent interview by GM Mickey Loomis. I have some thoughts on the whole situation, but the first thing I'm going to tell you we have to do is check our feelings at the door because this will come down to some business decisions. But don't worry, stick around to the end. I'll give you my honest opinion with my feelings involved. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. I'm going to show you part of the clip, or listen, I'm not really going to show you anything, but listen to a clip when Mickey was on Mad Dog Sports Radio and being interviewed. The There's really two relevant clips here, kind of. The first one was they were asking about if Cam Jordan was coming back, basically, and Mickey's response was, we certainly hope so. We have an offer out there. We'll, kind of see how it goes. But it was a generally speaking, yeah, we want Cam to come back. Just don't know how it's going to work out right now. Then they asked about Alvin.
Alvin definitely going to be on the New Orleans Saints this year.
Yeah, I think we're still trying to, work through that to see where we're at roster wise, and look, there's a couple areas there that we've got to, work through. So I'd rather not comment on it right now, but it's certainly an exciting possibility.
So a lot of words to say. Don't really want to talk about it, but we can gather enough to say there's something going on there. But what exactly it is, he's not letting on. It's the second part of this that caught my attention.
I know you don't want to comment too much on Alvin, but is it something where, you guys are on the same page? Is it something where other teams are picking up the phone? Just in terms of where that is right now, in terms of taking the temperature on that conversation and relationship.
Yeah, I'd rather keep that to myself at this point, Adam. It's a good question, but I think those are private conversations, at least at this point.
In effect, Mickey really clammed up when they brought in 2 points, or you're on the same page. That could be what he's clamming up about. But the thing nobody has really talked about, and this goes to when they restructured Alvin's contract back in March. Alvin Kamara is tradable after June 1st. And that's why we have to check our feelings at the door right now about how we feel about it and explore the business end of it. Now, before we do that, there's two things that I have to bring up. Okay, the first point is in this breakdown coming up, we're going to talk about $3 million that is fully guaranteed to Alvin by the Saints in 2026. When you're talking about guaranteed money, there's really accounted for in two categories because that's cash, 3 million in cash owed and cash paid. Now, the reason why this matters is specifically to Alvin. Roughly, I'm going to round 1.3 million is base salary. The other 1.7 million comes from bonuses or whatever it is tied to it. I don't know the contract details specifically, but I know when you add those two together, you get 3 million guaranteed. It is possible that the Saints have already cut him a $1.7 million check, cash paid, which means they would only owe the 1.3, and that's basically travels with him because that 1.3, whenever they pay salary, because that's his salary for the year for games played, that's when he gets that money. Number two, I tried real hard to find out if the Saints have paid any cash paid to Alvin so far in 2026, and I can't. Everything that I'm over the cap, etc., every site that I can go to, even doing an AI search on Grok, keeps saying that none of that has been paid yet. That full 3 million is cash owed. I wish I could confirm it 100%. I can't. But one thing that makes me think that it is accurate is in the last day or 2 days or so, whenever this interview was released and this conversation started coming up, a lot of the, analysts, talking heads, whatever you want to call us, keeps talking about that 3 million in future tense. They owe, they will pay. Not they have paid. They paid part of. They paid the bonus, whatever. There's been no past tense reference to that 3 million. It seems to be all future tense. So, grain of salt, something could come around that just nobody knows yet that part of that 3 million was actually cash paid and not the whole thing is cash owed. So, when you kind of go through the breakdown and we talk about the 3 million, just keep in the back of your mind, it may be adjustable. 1.5 may have been paid, or 1.7 may have been paid, 1.3 owed, and the numbers would change accordingly. It's not a lot to move the needle. But when we kind of go through the breakdown, you'll kind of see why I'm curious to why nobody's talking about the fact that he is tradable, and this could be the whole reason why this is, so far up in the air. And it has to do all with June 1st. Talking about Alvin Kamara, there's three things that you immediately have to bear in mind. He's 31 years old. He's been in the league 9 seasons, and he will be a free agent after 2026. The only way you can keep him beyond 2026 is reverting back to the Saints kicking cans down the road. And that's the important thing to remember in here, because you can tell me down in the comments how good of a running back you think Alvin Kamara is. Let's say scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being outstanding. There's no doubt he's a declining player. And any type of situation where you're going to keep him beyond 2026, you are gambling that he's going to stop descending as a player and at least plateau, if not ascend. And we're going to have to break down some numbers here on what's going on with his overall contract. And I think this is the important part where if you're doing this all on feelings and not thinking about business, get yourself in a little bit of trouble. So starting in 2027, Alvin's going to be 32. It's a void year. His contract's only going to have 4 void years on it, which means no salary. He is a free agent. The only reason why those 4 void years are there is to account for his prorating signing bonus, which is about roughly $14 million. That's dead money. That's all of that. All 4 of those years are going to be added together, roughly 14 million. That's going to hit the Saints in 2027. The only way you can avoid that is if you bring Alvin back. So you have to pay him more money. You're going to add more dead money, regardless of how you're going to do it. So you're accounting for more cap space, and you're borrowing that cap space in future years. It's exactly the kick the can down the road philosophy that got the Saints in all kind of trouble the last couple of years. And the most important question is if you're going to do that, what are you going to get out of a running back that's now 32 years old, 10 years into the league? Has he plateaued? Is he miraculously ascending his production again, or is he descending? Let me know down in the comments what you think, but I'm pretty sure at this point, you're not likely going to get what you pay for over the life of whether it's an extension, rework, whatever you want to call it, the new contract. It's going to be a lot of money, probably not the production to support it. And really, the next thing is this 3 million guarantee right here. Because in just about all, in fact, all analysis. Now, I have not watched every single person or heard them on the radio or whatever talking about this scenario that talks about that 3 million, other than saying the Saints are paying him $3 million anyway because it's guaranteed. Partially correct. They're paying him that if he is indeed on the team. If they cut him, they're still paying him that because it's guaranteed. Caveat comes is if they trade him. If they trade him, that $3 million goes to the new team. Very important in what we're talking about here, because no matter what you do, if you move on from Alvin before that contract runs out, you can't even cut him pre-June 1st because we don't have enough cap space to cover the dead hit. And that's just for this year. You still have to add up the remainder. And it's a big number. Part of that has to go to 2027. Now, another option would be you trade Alvin before June 1st. That $3 million goes to the new team, but you're still not helping yourself a whole lot here because you're creating a dead cap situation that's going to hit you all in the current year that you can't cover because you don't have enough cap space. So Alvin is here till after June 1st, unless the Saints want to make a massive amount of moves to clear enough cap space that they can move on from Alvin. So whatever happens, this decision is going to be after June 1st, not before. Cutting him post June 1st doesn't really change the math much because you're still going to, at that point, hand him the $3 million guaranteed, create 376,000 roughly in cap space. You're going to still take the full hit in 2026 that you would have taken if he's on the roster or not, but you do get to split the remaining dead money back into 2027. Not really much change, if anything, here other than Alvin's not on your roster. But if you trade him post June 1st, that $3 million goes to the new team. You're effectively creating more cap space here. You're still keeping, because now the $3 million is off your books. You're still keeping the dead money relatively the same for 2027, but you're keeping it in 2027 where we have a lot of cap space. Regardless of how you look at this, you have to clear the dead money off the books by 2027. If you can get something of value for Alvin in the process, I think checking the feelings at the door, the business end of this kind of says if somebody's willing to take him after June 1st, you get a trade and any value back in that trade, it's the right business move for the Saints. We may not like it, but in the past, the Saints have done a lot of things off emotions and feelings when it comes to contract, and it's came back to bite us in the ass. So, just saying, nobody's really acknowledging the fact that Alvin Kamara is very tradable after June 1st, and that may be the actual hangup in this whole thing. And one other thing to briefly point out is Alvin rarely has gone, and like some other veteran players, and I don't think it's really a big deal. His OTAs is not mandatory; it's optional, and he has shown up for some partially and then left, stuff like that. Not a big deal. But the thing to me to look at is this year minicamp. They're doing it over 2 days only, and it is June 16th and 17th, almost 2 weeks behind that June 1st deadline. So there just seems to be more and more wiggle room that if that's what they're thinking, or teams are calling, like the interviewer tried to ask Mickey and he wanted no part of answering, there's time to figure all this out overall. So just a lot of things line up that make sense that while this may not, and I'm not breaking news here by any stretch of the imagination saying it's going to happen, it's just a possibility that's kind of swirling out there that this may be something that could happen. Teams may have called. Um, we're pretty sure it sounds like Alvin has been working out hard and wants to play in 2026 and wants to stay with the Saints, but there's still always the possibility that something may pop up and, you know, a possible trade could happen. So I think this is really, it's not the contract, it's not renegotiating anything like that. I think this is one viable option other than he just plays it out in 26 and we handle 27 when it shows up. I think that's really your only two options. He's either traded or he is here playing, and we'll kind of see how it comes out. Now, my honest opinion of the situation is I think some of these older veterans are, it goes a little beyond production, right? I think they need to be involved with the roster. Right now, I think you're kind of down to Cam and Alvin, and I think you may have to find a way to get them both here if that's possible. And to kind of tie it all together, I didn't play the interview portion about Cam. I think Saints may be sticking to their guns, whatever the offer is, and he wants more. And, you know, in his situation, he can wait it out and see if somebody comes a calling and wants to pay him what he wants. And, honestly, no hard feelings there. He's earned it. And so, as much as I would love to see him here, um, if things work out the other way and he signs somewhere else, I get it. And I get why we don't want to do it. And it ties into a little bit, I get it, why we may be interested in moving on from Alvin before the end of the 20 or post June 1st, really before the 2026 season even really starts, is the bottom line is, and this is where my opinion comes in. As much as I want them both to be here and I want them to retire as Saints, Cam's almost definitely making the Hall of Fame, and Alvin should, but we'll see how that works out. Um, and have two more Saints Hall of Famers in Canton would be awesome. But the bottom line is, and I think this is the trap I've fallen into a couple of times this off season, and when this conversation has come up, some people have fallen into the trap of, barring a Jesus like miracle of multiplying the loaves and the fishes, the Saints are not making a serious Super Bowl run in 2026. Now, it's not to say they can't be competitive, they can't win a division, they can't make the playoffs, and, you know, okay, it may not be quite that type of miracle, but I think the percent chance is just slightly greater than zero that we're going to get much beyond that. And that's okay. We're rebuilding, and that would be a successful season and one that you can keep building on. To me, I think the big picture is all about 2027 and what this team, and they did it last year. There was a lot of in the moment now, this is the season we're trying to win. But a lot of decisions had to be made. It's of we can't push all our chips in the middle and do it this year. It's going to be somewhere in the future. You got a lot better, and there's a lot more possibilities on 26, but I just don't think you're quite there yet. And even if you are, you want it to be something sustainable onward. You don't want it to be, you've seen this in the past with some teams, really hit on that second year, the year three rebuild, and then they regress badly in year three. I would rather progress that when you get to year three in 2027, it is nothing but upward trending, no going back. It's all a crapshoot. It really is. Let's be honest. But my honest takeaway of this whole situation is, look, these guys, I think for the first time in a long, long time, they do want to put a competitive team on the field that, hey, could do it. Could be New England. And in year two, boom, making a playoff run that turns into a Super Bowl appearance. It's entirely possible. But I think you also have to keep in mind building for the future, because the real goal is to get back to where we were a couple of times over the 2000s with the Saints, where that reality wasn't just a 1 year and then what are we going to do? That reality was a 2, 3, 4 year window. And that's what we're trying to get back to. There it is. So, don't know what's going to happen the rest of this off season. I wasn't expecting this video, but ended up having to make it anyway because of this whole thing popping off, and it made me stop and think about some stuff. So, don't know what I'm going to stop and think about next, but it should be out sometime beginning of next week. Until I see you next time, I'm Tim. Peace out, and who dat.